I want to first start by asking you, is this microdosing a medical term or a medical thing at all? Or is this just a trend that has been started on the internet?
So microdosing is often used in a common term for subtherapeutic dose of medicines which are given beyond the approved level of dose. However, when it comes to these weight loss drugs, GLP-1 RA, there is a dose escalation approach. They are not necessarily microdosing because these doses are approved doses as per the regulatory body. So you give these doses in an escalated manner to avoid the side effect. And we know the side effects of nausea, vomiting, and people are not able to tolerate these drugs. So there is an interesting story behind this dose escalation approach followed for GLP-1 RA. So first thing is that GLP-1 RA are not the new drug. Like of course, the one which are available in the market are new, but the first GLP-1 RA was available in 2005, nearly 20 years ago. And before, when the drugs in trials were started before 2005, when people were given the dose in the clinical trials, all of them were vomiting and none of them were able to control their vomiting. So
Got
then
it.
investigator came up with the idea that let's start with a smaller dose. So current dosing pattern, which is recommended, is the approved dosing pattern. It's not the microdosing in a real sense. It's a dose escalation approach to start on the physiological benefit and then reduce the side effect. But let's say
But
whatever it is
dose
useful.
escalation is different from microdosing, correct? A dose
Yeah.
escalation is a very natural process that a doctor will anyways do. They will test your tolerance level, then increase it depending on how well your body is responding to the drug. That we get. I'm trying to understand this microdosing, which seems to be a trend on TikTok. And even the person we spoke with, Dr. Kiran, who's a dermat herself, she has actually said that she started with 2.5 every week, but she went on to decrease or the frequency at which she was taking these doses. And that, according to her, is microdosing. Is that something that's prescribed by doctors?
I do not think that is legally allowed to do microdosing for certain drugs. So these drugs, which are GLP-1 RA, should be given in as per approved formulae and as per the recommendation. So giving any GLP-1 RA less than the recommended dose, which is a starting dose of 0.25 mg or 2.5 mg, is not something which I would recommend. And that is not a medical or, in my opinion, even the legally valid approach. And that should be done very cautiously.
All right, not a medical, you're saying even a legally valid approach to be taking these, at smaller durations. Although to say that Dr. Kiran, seems to be more informed since she has that background. But are you scared, sir? And we've spoken about this so many times. Are you seeing in the market right now people who have gone on Mounjaro on these drugs with self-prescription and are doing these new boutique ways or new ways in which they're taking these drugs on their own?
So we need to remember that these drugs have been licensed and studied in a certain manner. We know that we start with a certain lower dose, so to reduce the side effects of these drugs, but the benefits of these drugs is achieved after dose escalation. So I do not fully understand that what purpose you are going to achieve by giving the dose which is sub dose than even the lowest dose of this medication. Second thing is that this is not something which has been tested or there is no clinical trial done on such benefit. So it is really difficult to say any such. But third thing is that these drugs should be given as a medical prescription, and the medical prescription need to follow a certain recommended approved approaches. Of course, I do understand that there are certain off-label usage, but off-label usage essentially means you give the same dose which is approved for a therapeutic purpose, which is not it actually is approved for. But then you do not temper or tinker with the amount of dose being administered. So I do not think a microdosing for a weight loss drug or GLP-1 RA is either economically or legally a good approach.
All right, so I think that's settled then, that microdosing of Mounjaro in the technical terms should not be done. You're saying it's medically not advised, legally not permitted either. So both should be avoided. But then let's come down to the usage of Mounjaro or the usage of GLP-1 drugs all over. Dr. Lahiria, just a year ago, the story was very different when we were talking about these drugs are just about coming to India. What is the change you have seen in the past 1 year of how India has adopted and sort of taken in on these GLP-1 drugs?
Well, so we know that India now has two GLP-1 RA which are injectable, and before that there were oral GLP-1 receptor agonists available. Now, once a regulatory body of a country is satisfied that this drug is useful for certain population, and then it can be recommended by the government. So before the licensing and availability of two GLP-1 RA injectables, they were available in the country which were being brought by the people at their own level, and at the time certain of the drugs were being recommended as off label. For example, they were recommended for diabetes, but they were being used for obesity, and vice versa. So those are the but they even at that time they were being administered in the same dose which is approved and given. And of
Correct.
course, with the availability of these drugs, and there are a number of people who can potentially benefit, are getting benefits of these drugs, which is a useful thing. This is helping reducing obesity and reducing diabetes, and also
But,
also, we heard that there
but,
are pleiotropic benefits of the drug. Pleiotropic benefits means the benefits of the drugs goes beyond reducing weight or reducing diabetes, but also cardiac protection and some other benefits.
yeah, we're speaking on a very important day as well, Dr. Laheria, because WHO has added GLP-1 drugs to its essential list. Now, what this means, we just broke it down for our viewers as well before you joined in, to say that this means that they have not just recognized the use of GLP-1 drugs for diabetes, but also for obesity. And they are now asking for global adoption of these drugs to happen. Also, the availability of these drugs to be made at a much cheaper rate so that it can benefit more people. Now, you know, as somebody who's just watching this space very, very closely, I'm looking at WHO saying, great drug, let more and more people get it. Okay. On the other hand, I'm looking at lawsuits being filed where we are looking at GLP-1 causing a sudden eyesight loss, sudden blindness. Suddenly you wake up and your eyesight is gone. You're looking at very, very severe symptoms in the gut. So what is WHO missing something here? Or is this the question that often comes is there a lobby of GLP-1 that's playing in here? Or how are we to assess the situation from a bird's eye view?
So we need to remember that any medicine has side effects. So in that sense, a GLP-1 receptor agonist should be carefully selected for the right patients. If you give to the wrong patients and if you do not screen patients properly, it can result in side effect. And that's what happens, and that's why certain countries there are lawsuits, and those lawsuits are a typical characteristic of the United States and many other countries. That does not mean GLP-1 RA are not good medication. They are very good and effective medication. When WHO puts into these drugs into essential drug list, I think it's an important milestone. One, because a number of countries, including India, have developed their national list of essential medicines. So most countries use WHO list of essential medicine to develop their national list of essential medicine, and
Yes.
probably India
Insurance
will also
policies,
use that
health
approach.
policies, all of those.
And other aspect benefits of national list of essential medicines are that once the medicine is put into that national list of essential medicine, it motivate or nudge national government to procure through their supply. But also, for example, in country like India, if list drug is an essential list medicine, then it comes under drug price control order, so which will essentially help in reducing the cost of the medication. We also know one of the GLP-1 RA will go off patent in coming year, and that will also help in shaping the market and the cost of these medication. So essentially, putting in the essential medicine list will make sort of universalize the access of these drugs. So currently, only the people who can afford these medicines are getting, but obesity is across the socioeconomic status and different group of people who cannot afford. So this is definitely a right step. Final point is that any drug, it's not that once you license drug, it is like they are in the market. The continued post-marketing surveillance for the side effects should be done and should be reported, and that will provide the data. So essentially, when we are seeing in India that more number of people are using GLP-1 RA, including Bigobi and Munjaro, that essentially is an opportunity for strengthening the drug adverse event reporting to the drug control authority. If we know the India specific data, that will
Yep.
provide useful insight.